Voices echo where no one should be. And tonight, I'm not alone. Ethan had always been fascinated by abandoned places. Old factories, deserted schools, empty houses, anything left behind, forgotten by time, called to him. But the old hospital at the edge of town had always held a special, terrifying allure. Its brick walls were cracked, windows shattered, and a tall iron fence, rusted with age, surrounded the grounds. Locals whispered about it, patients who vanished, doctors who went insane, nurses who claimed to hear voices that weren't there. He approached the hospital on a foggy evening, the last light of the sun fading into a pale gray sky. The gate creaked loudly as he pushed it open, a sound that seemed far too loud for the quiet of the overgrown lot. His flashlight cut a narrow path through the darkness, illuminating broken glass, overturned wheelchairs, and rusted gurneys. The air smelled of mildew, decay, and something faintly metallic like dried blood. As he stepped inside the lobby, the doors groaned and slammed shut behind him. Ethan froze. The echo was deafening in the empty space. He tried them locked. Of course. The hospital wanted him here. He adjusted his backpack and stepped further into the corridor, the floorboards creaking under his weight. Every step seemed to summon shadows that moved slightly when he wasn't looking. Then he heard it, a whisper. Soft, almost playful, carried from the end of the hall. Ethan. He froze. His pulse skyrocketed. The building should have been empty. He turned his flashlight toward the end of the corridor. The shadows stretched, warped by the flickering light, and he thought he saw movement, something gliding across the floor, just beyond his vision. The whisper came again, clearer this time. You shouldn't be here. Ethan swallowed hard, telling himself it was the wind, the creak of old wood, his imagination. He pressed forward, exploring room after room. Empty hospital beds, rusted equipment, overturned chairs. But the deeper he went, the more the air seemed to thicken, almost like it was pressing against him. Each corridor seemed longer than the last, doors appearing where he didn't remember them. In one small patient room, he noticed the walls covered in strange messages, scratched into the paint. Don't leave. Don't listen. They are here. A chill ran down his spine. He had read about this hospital online, but these were stories, distant, harmless warnings. This felt real, too real. He shined his flashlight across the room, and in the reflection of a cracked mirror, he thought he saw a figure standing behind him. Tall, thin, unnaturally still. He spun around nothing. Only the echo of his own breathing answered him. The whispers grew louder. Not just in one room, they were everywhere. Hallways, stairwells, operating rooms. He walked cautiously, flashlight trembling in his hand. Somewhere ahead, he heard the faint sound of dragging chains. He froze. Each step forward felt heavier, as if the building itself was resisting him. He reached the main operating theater. The ceiling was partially caved in, moonlight spilling through the broken roof. Rusted surgical tools were scattered across the floor. And in the center of the room, an old operating table remained, stained with something dark and sticky. As Ethan stepped closer, he heard a soft, deliberate breathing. Leave. The voice came from directly behind him. He spun nothing. The room was empty, but the air felt thick, heavy, suffocating. He backed away, tripping over a rusted four-stand. It clattered to the floor, echoing through the hallways like a gunshot. And then he saw them shadows. Figures, tall and distorted, crawling along the walls. Their forms warped unnaturally, flickering in and out of existence. Faces appeared, hollow and screaming silently. They moved toward him slowly, deliberately, as if drawn by his fear. Ethan ran. He didn't know where he was going, only that he had to escape. The hallways twisted around him. Doors appeared where they hadn't been before, leading to rooms he had never seen. The whispers multiplied, overlapping voices calling his name, warning him, taunting him. In a small, dimly lit stairwell, he stumbled upon a journal. Its pages were yellowed, brittle, and filled with frantic handwriting. The entries described horrors that made his skin crawl, patients locked in rooms, experiments conducted by doctors who were no longer sane, nurses driven to despair by things they had seen. And then a final entry, written in large shaking letters. They are still here. They never left. Do not open the doors. Do not look behind you. If you do, you will never leave. A sudden crash echoed from above. Ethan looked up. The ceiling seemed to ripple and the shadows twisted, moving faster now. He realized with growing horror that the hospital was alive. It fed on him, his fear, and his curiosity. The whispers became chanting. Hundreds of voices now, overlapping, echoing through the hallways. Stay, stay forever, join us. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but the layout of the hospital had changed. He ran down corridors that now led him back to the same room. The operating table sat in the center, unchanged, as if time itself were trapped here. Shadows reached out from the corners, their hands long and skeletal, grasping for him. Ethan found another door, rusted, heavy, partially open. He burst through it and stumbled into the morgue. Rows of old metal drawers lined the walls. Some were slightly open. The air was colder here, freezing. A soft, wet sound echoed from one of the drawers. He shined his flashlight inside, lay empty. But then a hand shot out, pale, limp, reaching for him. He screamed, slamming the drawer closed. The shadows coalesced, growing taller, denser. The whispering reached a deafening crescendo. He backed into the corner, shaking uncontrollably, flashlight flickering. And then he saw it, the ghostly form of a nurse, hovering just above the floor. Her eyes hollow, mouth twisted into a silent scream, arms outstretched toward him. "Don't leave," she whispered, her voice layered with hundreds of other voices. Ethan's breathing became ragged. He stumbled, tripped over a broken stretcher, and fell. He scrambled to his feet and ran toward the stairs. But the steps had changed, leading him back into the same operating theater, moonlight spilling through the broken roof, shadows moving closer. The table seemed to pulse, like a heartbeat, and the dark stains glistened unnaturally in the pale light. He ran blindly through the corridors, doors appearing and disappearing, staircases folding into themselves, walls closing in. The hospital seemed endless. His flashlight died. Darkness swallowed him. Only the whispers remained, chanting his name, laughing, warning him. Suddenly, a mirror appeared at the end of the hall. He glimpsed his reflection, pale, terrified, eyes wide. And behind him in the reflection, hundreds of shadowy figures loomed. They were closer than he thought, their hands reaching for him. He spun around, nothing, but the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. Ethan's mind raced. He remembered the journal. Do not open the doors. Do not look behind you. But curiosity and fear had trapped him here. The hospital had claimed him. Every hallway he ran through, every room he entered only brought him closer to the shadows. Finally, he stumbled into a small, windowless room. The air was still. No whispers, no shadows. Just the faint sound of dripping water. He backed against the wall, gasping for air. And then he noticed it. The door he had entered through was gone. In its place was a solid wall, cracked and stained. Panic surged through him. He was trapped. Then came the voices. Clear, singular, and cold. "Welcome to your home." The shadows emerged slowly, swirling around him. Shapes of former patients, nurses, doctors, all twisted, broken, staring with hollow eyes. They circled him, murmuring in unison, their whispers blending into a deafening roar. Ethan screamed, but the sound was swallowed, leaving only the echo of his terror behind. Days passed, or maybe hours, Ethan couldn't tell. The hospital had no time, no memory. It only had fear. He moved through hallways endlessly, doors appearing and disappearing, rooms folding into each other. And the whispers never stopped, always calling his name, always promising that he would never leave. No one came looking for him. The town had long forgotten the hospital, its history buried under rumors and fear. But the building waited, waiting for the curious, the brave, the foolish. It waited for anyone who dared step inside, because once you enter, the voices claim you, the shadows follow, and the hospital never lets you go. And sometimes late at night, people report hearing soft footsteps near the abandoned building. Lights flicker faintly behind shattered windows. Whispers drift across the empty lot, calling names, warning, enticing. And if you're unlucky enough to step inside, you'll hear the voices too. If this story gave you chills, like the video. Comment if you dare explore the abandoned hospital. And don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying stories that will haunt your nights.